Would you like to kick us off with some of the technical information that everybody needs to know?
Thank you, Judy. Welcome, everyone. We are offering interpretation for this meeting in Portuguese, Haitian Creole, Spanish, Cantonese, and Vietnamese. And so if you would like interpretation, hopefully you can read the screen to find your spot, but clicking on the interpretation button and selecting the appropriate language. We can go to the next slide. We are recording this webinar. At this time, interpreters, please do press the record button in your room, and we will be posting the recording, and the slides are actually already up at mass.gov/2030 CECP. The lines will remain muted during the presentation, but we'll be unmuting folks to provide oral comments after the presentation. If you would like to provide comments, we're going to be asking you to raise your hand. So if you know you want to provide comments, feel free to raise your hand at any time, and we'll walk you through that when we get to that portion of the presentation. And if you have any clarifying questions or logistical issues, please type it into the chat box and we will try to address it as we move through. But with that, if we can go to the next slide. I'd like to welcome Judy Chang, the Undersecretary of Energy, to share with us about the plan, and apologies for the date. This is the March 15th version, the evening version, sorry, we didn't fix this title slide. But take it away, Judy.
Thank you very much, Claire, and thank you everybody for joining us this evening for this webinar. And first of all, I'd like to say that I appreciate your patience with the rescheduling of the date and the time of the webinar. We had tried to schedule this earlier in the year, but our whole team was actually working hard through after December 30 when we first published the report to work with our legislatures on the proposed climate bill. And I will talk a little bit more about that later. So I hope that this has given you additional time to review and process the information in the interim 2030 Clean Energy Climate Plan that was released last year on December 30th. So I'm going to first spend some time to present the high-level findings and in the CECP, the Clean Energy Climate Plan, and then we will have a listening session where we can hear everybody's comments. A number of people have already asked about the current climate bill that's in the legislation, in the legislature being debated, and its potential impact on this 2030 plan. As you probably know, that the amended bill is currently still being debated for consideration, and therefore we don't actually know the exact way that the final bill will affect the CECP, but we certainly look forward to a continued dialogue with our legislators and the stakeholders as we work to achieve the common goals. Governor Baker has returned the climate legislation with a series of key targeted amendments. Most of those amendments were accepted, but it's still being debated in the legislature. He definitely looks forward to signing the amended bill. I am optimistic that we can work through the differences and get to an agreement on the final bill, which I believe will maximize Massachusetts' ability to achieve net zero emissions by 2050 in the most cost-effective way and in the most equitable way, and mark a significant milestone for the Commonwealth's leadership on climate change. I will summarize our approach and strategies for aggressively reducing the greenhouse gas emissions in the next decade, for this next decade, to position ourselves to achieve the net zero emissions by 2050. And then I will listen to the oral comments that you may have on the plan. The last decade, and especially especially the last years, really has been an exciting time here in Massachusetts as we make significant progress in safeguarding Massachusetts environmental resources while taking aggressive action on climate change, while preparing for its inevitable impact on our communities. Massachusetts has always been a leader on environmental issues, responsibility, and governance, and I'm extremely proud to be part of this team and making an effort, taking the next step. Next slide, please. This slide just depicts what it means to get to net zero by 2050. Now, before the pandemic disrupted our schedules and our lives, 2020 was already, we were starting with really strong activities, setting the right course to combat climate change. Governor Baker at that time set an aggressive target for Massachusetts to achieve net zero emissions by 2050. That target is consistent with the science, where we need to be, and it is ambitious, and it is going to be difficult but achievable. I'm also glad to see that many other jurisdictions have followed suit, and I think this is a recognition of saying that this is what the science says we need to be as a society. Which is why EEA, the Energy and Environmental Affairs team here, is engaged in a comprehensive science-based roadmap analysis. We want to map out the pathways available to achieve this climate goal. Next slide, please. On the slide, you see the cover of a really 2 years of hard work from many team members to look at our decarbonization roadmap. Of course, we recognize that the ability to solve climate crisis requires state leadership. We know the cost of inaction could be devastating to our economy, our health, and our environment, which is why we are taking a leadership role as the first state in the nation to release a comprehensive study to achieve the net zero emissions by 2050. This study is an economy-wide study. This means that we looked at every sector of the economy and tried to understand how to bring us all together to a net zero emissions by 2050. Now, the 2-year analysis used the best models and the analytical tools available to explore, and it involved people who have done this kind of analysis for other countries and looked at it from a global perspective and really dived into deep on every sector in detail, and it analyzed the steps that the Commonwealth and the region needs to take to achieve our goal of net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2050, while maintaining a healthy, equitable, and thriving economy in Massachusetts. Now, this long-range study and analysis is informing our effort for the next decade. The reason I lead in with this whole decarbonization roadmap study is because it is a scenario-based approach to look into the future and look at different scenarios, how we might achieve net zero by 2050. And the reason it's important to look at the longer term is because the next decade is really the stepping stone to the longer term. And we also can't wait until the last decade or 2040s to achieve what we set for ourselves in 2050. Even though 2050 sounds like a long time or long, far away time frame, we actually need to act now in this particular moment, in this particular decade. So if you haven't already, I do encourage you to review the roadmap study, the 2050 roadmap report, which is posted online at the link at the top of the slide. Also posted with the roadmap are 6 technical reports that provide much detail behind the analysis for each sector, as well as the analysis of economic and health impacts from decarbonization pathway to 2050. If nothing else, these technical appendices provide a lot of information. It's a great resource for people who want to learn more about how to really work together to decarbonize our economy. Next slide, please.
Así la próxima diapositiva.
Through this roadmap analysis, we are focused on making sure that while we keep our options open, we also need to act now, because many opportunities only occur several times in the next 3 decades, and we need to have a plan to understand how we achieve them. And overall, the lowest risk pathway to net zero has a few elements. First, a balanced clean energy portfolio anchored by significant amount of offshore wind resources, as well as solar resources. More interstate transmission lines to allow us to access the diverse renewable generation and clean energy in our neighboring states, as well as in Canada. And this does not necessarily mean new transmission lines, but it may mean upgrading our existing systems to access to a diverse portfolio of clean energy that we can access to. And widespread, the third thing is widespread electrification of transportation and building heat, so that we can plug basically our transportation system and our buildings to that clean energy system or clean electricity system. And then lastly, but most importantly, reduce costs by replacing energy infrastructure when it is up for replacement. This means that we only have so many opportunities to change people's purchasing decisions, to make sure that when a car is at its end of life, that's an opportunity for people to purchase a new car. And how do we create incentives for people to transition to electric vehicles at an affordable level? The modeling and the assumptions for the 2050 roadmap were mostly built off a pre-COVID understanding of the trends and the dynamics of our economy. Certainly, we have learned how to live and in this strange environment, and we can all assess that there are some potential long-lasting impacts, and particularly the way we work, particularly the way we transport ourselves. And while we haven't really conducted an in-depth analysis and to incorporate any of these lessons learned or best practices during the COVID timeframe into the 2050 roadmap, we are interested in that impact and the trends, so that if we, after analyzing the impact of COVID and understanding what the longer lasting impact would be, we would try to incorporate that in a future clean energy climate plans.
En un plan futuro de energía limpia.
So to put us in the best position to achieve the net zero by 2050, the Secretary of Energy and Environmental Affairs had set an emissions limit of 45% below 1990 levels by 2030. This strikes the best balance and the right balance, because it sets us on the course to hit our net zero goals while balancing the economic costs. Now, this target is ambitious, and it is probably the most ambitious in the state's targets across the country. And it will allow us, though, to take advantage of end-of-life stock turnover. This is when a car needs to be replaced, as I just mentioned, or a furnace needs to be replaced at its end of life. This is the best time to make the replacements, because those decisions will need to be made anyway, and we hope that people could transition to a use of a different technology, possibly, so that we can use clean electricity to power both our transportation and our heating for the buildings. It gives us time.
Entonces,
and
eso nos da
flexibility
tiempo y
to
flexibilidad
develop new
para
markets
desarrollar
and
nuevos
take advantage of
mercados
the
y
technology
aprovechar de la
breakthroughs and
tecnología
innovations
nueva
in
y
our own
innovaciones
clean tech sector
en nuestros
as they are
sectores
working
de
on these
tecnología
today.
limpia, tanto como se están
It is,
desarrollando en el día de
however,
hoy.
quite aggressive
Sin
in
embargo,
the
es muy
sense that we need
agresivo en el
to
sentido
act
que
now to make the
tenemos que actuar
plans
ahora para hacer los
coherent
planes
and
coherentes
to create
y
incentives
para
for
crear
people
los
to make the
incentivos
transition.
para que la gente hagan esa
If we're going
transición.
to meet our ambitious
Si
climate
queremos
bill,
alcanzar
climate
esas
goals in
metas
2050, we
ambiciosas
definitely
de
have to act
2050,
now.
tenemos que actuar
And
ahora.
that's why this
Y es por
2030
eso
Clean
que
Energy Climate Plan
ese
is actually
plan
a
de
critical
energía
step
limpia 2030
to
es un paso
take
súper
over the
importante
next 10
que
years so
tenemos
that
que
we can
tomar
position
en los
ourselves to
próximos 10
achieve
años
the longer
para
term
estar
goals.
en una posición
Next
para
slide, please.
alcanzar esa meta más a largo
So what
plazo.
does it look like to
Así, ¿cómo
get to
será
40%
llegar a
reduction by
45, una
2030?
reducción de
As you can see
45% para
here,
el
to
año
meet our
2030?
ambitious
Y
2030 goal and
como puede
position
ver
our
en
state
la
to achieve the net
diapositiva,
zero by
para
2050,
que el Estado
we
llegue
need to
a
make
alcanzar
significant
neto cero
progress
para el
in the
2050,
coming
tenemos que
years.
hacer progreso
We will need to
significativo
retrofit
en
about
los
1
próximos
million
años.
homes,
Tenemos que
support highly efficient
modernizar
new
como 1
construction,
millón de
and help
edificios,
people adopt
apoyar
clean heating
construcción nueva
solutions
y ayudar a la
like the
gente a
various
adoptar
heat pump
soluciones
technologies
nuevas y
already on the
tecnologías
market.
nuevas que ya
We
existen
will
en el
need to put
mercado.
over
Tenemos que
750,000
poner
new zero-emission vehicles, such as
750,000
electric vehicles, on
carros
the road
como
and achieve a
vehículos eléctricos
15%
en la
reduction in
calle
commuting
y
vehicle miles
alcanzar
traveled.
una reducción de
And we will need
15%
to
en las
build
millas
and interconnect
viajadas.
about
Y tenemos
6,000
que
megawatts
construir
of clean
y
energy and modernize
conectar
our electric grid
como
to support the
6
development of these clean
megavatios
energy
de energía
resources.
limpia.
The 2030 Clean
Así
Energy
que
Climate
el plan de
Plan establishes the
2030
blueprint for
establece
achieving these
como
goals
el mapa que
equitably and
necesitamos
affordably,
para
with
alcanzar esas
major and new
metas de una
initiatives
forma
advancing
equitativo
decarbonization
y
of the
limpio
Commonwealth buildings,
y para
transportation,
cambiar
and
los
electricity
edificios
sector.
y el
So I'm going to go
transporte y
into
el sector
each of the
de
sectors
electricidad del
briefly.
Estado.
Next
Voy a
slide,
entrar en
please.
cada estado brevemente, cada sector, perdón.
The 2030 plan
Así que el plan
outlines bold action to
habla
pivot
de
the building sector
acción
to
fuerte
high efficiency buildings
que
and clean heat.
necesitamos
Now,
una
during this
energía de
year,
construcción muy
Massachusetts
eficiente, de
will
alta
create a new
eficiencia.
net zero high
Entonces el
performance
Estado va
stretch
a
building
empezar
energy code
a
to
hacer un
ensure our
código
newest
nuevo de
buildings are
edificio de
resilient
alta
and energy
eficiencia,
efficient.
para
Communities can
resistencia y
adopt
para
the stretch
eficiencia.
code starting
Las
next year, with
comunidades pueden
code
empezar a
becoming
adoptar ese
mandatory and
código para
effective
el año que viene,
statewide by
pero ya será
2028.
obligatorio para el año
But about
2028.
80% of the
Así
buildings
que
we'll have in
8% de los
2050 are actually
edificios en
standing now.
2050 ya,
So it's
ya
not
están
only
existentes ahora.
important
Así
that
que
we
no es
have stretch
solamente
codes for our
importante
new
tener
buildings,
esos códigos
we
nuevos
also
para
need
los
to focus on
edificios que
taking
se van
bold
a
actions
construir,
on
pero tenemos
existing
que
buildings.
tomar,
And this is
hacer
going to
planes
be
para los
extremely challenging,
edificios ya
but
existentes.
we
Eso va a
need to
ser un
set
desafío,
our
lo
path
sabemos,
in doing so
pero
now.
tenemos que ya empezar ese
First, we
camino
will
para poder
pivot the
hacerlo.
Mass Save program, which is an
Entonces se
energy
va a
efficiency
cambiar el
program,
programa Mass
limiting
Save, que es
fossil fuel
acerca de
heating system
energía de
incentives in the
eficiencia.
next
Entonces
3-year
vamos a
plan
poner
for
incentivos
2022
en
through
el próximo plan
2024,
de 3
and
años,
then
entre
ending all
2022 a
fossil fuel heating system
2024. Vamos
incentives
a
by
limitar
the end of
todos los
2024.
combustibles en base
We
de
will also
fósiles.
expand access to energy
Vamos a
efficiency
ampliar
and clean
el
heating
acceso
for
a la
low and moderate
eficiencia
income renters
para
and homeowners
energía
in
limpia para
environmental
los que
justice
son dueños
communities
de
through
casa,
targeted community-based incentives and
basado en
outreach programs.
incentivos
While the
enfocados en
2030
ciertas
plan
comunidades, especialmente los
mentions
de
air source heat pumps
ingresos
several
bajos y
times, we
ingresos
actually mean
medianos.
really all available
Entonces estamos
technology,
hablando de todas las tecnologías
including air
disponibles
source
que
heat pumps,
incluyen
but also including other types of
también
heat pumps
las
and
pompas de
electric
aire
heat
caliente
water heaters,
y también
solar,
para
hot
calentar el
water,
agua,
as well as
para el
declining
agua,
emissions through
calentar el
best
agua con
practices
el poder
such as
solar y siempre
preventative
buscar
maintenance
las
of
mejores
HVAC.
prácticas.
In addition to measures to
Entonces, por encima
decarbonize
de estas
existing buildings,
medidas,
we have a
por
plan
los,
forward to cap and
los
reduce
edificios
emissions
existentes,
from the
vamos a
building sector
poner
in
un
general.
límite para
We
las
will
emisiones en el
convene a
sector
governor's
de
commission
vivienda y edificios
for
en general.
clean,
Vamos a
for
tener
the
una comisión del gobierno
clean heat as well
para
as
la
an
calefacción
interagency
caliente, tanto
clean
como,
heat task force.
como
This
una
work will build on
comisión
the Department of Public Utilities study to
calefacción
assess
limpia.
the
Y
role
ellos
of
van
natural
a
gas companies in
asesorar el
ensuring a
papel de
low
las
carbon
compañías
future
de gas
and explore
natural para
strategies
asegurar
that
el
will enable
futuro
the Commonwealth to achieve net zero
del combustible
emissions
limpio,
while
y también
safeguarding
para
ratepayers' interest in
permitir que
securing
lleguemos a
safe,
nuestras metas
reliable, and
y también
affordable natural
permitir que
gas
las
service.
personas puedan tener servicio
By the
que
end of
sea
2021,
confiable y que
the
sea
Commission
seguro
and
de
Task
gas
Force on
natural.
Clean Heat will
Entonces, esa
recommend a
comisión
framework for new long-term declining
calefacción
emissions
limpia
cap for
va a
heating fuels
poner como
used
un
in the state.
límite
And
para el
this would
tipo de
include natural
combustible que
gas,
se usa para
fuel
calefacción, que
oil,
incluye
and propane.
gas natural y
By the end of
petróleo y
2022,
propano.
they will
Y para
recommend
el
statutory,
final de
regulatory,
2022
and financing
van a
mechanism needed to
implementar los
ensure that the
mecanismos que se
development of a
necesitan
reliable
para
and affordable
asegurar de
clean
que
heat solution for all
estas
of our buildings.
soluciones de calefacción limpio sea accesible para todos.
Next slide, please. Next slide, I'm going to focus on the
Y en esta
transportation sector.
diapositiva vamos a enfocarnos en el transporte.
In the transportation
En
sector,
cuanto al transporte,
the Transportation and Climate Initiative Program,
esta
or the
iniciativa,
TCIP, is
como se
central
llama
to our strategy.
TCIP, es
TCIP
central
is a
a esta
multi-state cap
estrategia.
and in a multi-state program
Entonces es un
that will
programa
reduce
entre
motor
diferentes
vehicle
estados que va
pollution
a
by at
disminuir
least
la
26%
contaminación
and generate 1.8
vehículos
billion in
para
Massachusetts by
desarrollar
2032 to invest
1.8
in the
billones
transport
para
sector
invertir en el
to
sector de
ensure that we
transporte
have an
para
equitable and
asegurar de
cleaner
que tengamos
transportation options. The
opciones
program will
que
require
sean
large gasoline
asequibles.
and diesel fuel suppliers to
Entonces eso va
purchase
a requerir que
allowances
los que están
for
comprando esos a
pollution
nivel
that
mayor,
results from the combustion of fuels they
que
sell in
entonces
the
ellos
region.
también que
And
tienen
then the
que
revenues from the sale
responsabilizarse
of the emissions
por la
allowance will be
contaminación.
invested in
Y
clean
entonces el
transportation
dinero que sale
options,
de eso se va a invertir
thus
en
providing a
opciones de
dedicated
transporte limpio.
funding
Y
source
eso
for
va a
increasing the
asegurar
deployment
un
of
fuente de
zero-emission
fondos
vehicle,
para
expanding the electric vehicle charging
los
infrastructure
vehículos de
network,
cero
and electrifying
emisiones,
transit
emisiones neto
buses.
cero.
No less than 35% of the
Y
proceeds
por lo
from
menos
the auction of the
30%
allowances will
de
be set
estos
aside to
permisos que se
ensure
va a
that
vender
overburdened
se
and
va a
underserved
apartar para que
communities
las
benefit
comunidades
equitably
más
from the clean
pobres
transportation
pueden
projects
beneficiar de
and
una forma
programs.
equitativa de
As
estos
TCIP
programas.
gets started and given potential
El
changes in the
TCIP
federal
cuando
and
se va
regional transportation
desarrollando
initiatives, we
y
will
por las
closely
emisiones
monitor the funding
regionales,
needs to
vamos a estar
support the
monitoreando
programs
las
to achieve
necesidades
our
para
2030 emissions
apoyar
limit and beyond.
para que lleguemos a
In
estas
addition
metas
to
de
that,
2030 y más allá.
Massachusetts will
Y por
join
encima de eso,
California
Massachusetts se
in
va a juntar con
mandating that by
California
2035,
para mandar que
100% of new light-duty vehicles sold
100% de los
in
vehículos
Massachusetts will
de
be zero
trabajo
emissions
liviano
vehicles.
que sean de
For
cero
medium and heavy
emisiones.
duty vehicles,
Y para
we
los
join with
de
15
uso
other
pesado y
jurisdictions
mediano,
in a
vamos a juntarnos con
coordinated
15
effort
diferentes
to have
jurisdicciones
30% of
con un
all new
esfuerzo
trucks and
coordinado
buses
para que
sold in
30%
Massachusetts
de los
be
trucks y
zero
de
emission
los
vehicles by
buses de la guagua
2030,
que sean
increasing
para
to
el año
100% sales
2030
by
que sean
2050.
de emisiones bajas o
We will
cero
continue
y
to
que eso llega a
create
100%
incentives
para el año
for the purchases of
2050
new
y vamos a
zero
ofrecer
emission vehicles, both
incentivos
light
para
duty and heavy
vehículos
duty, through state rebates and
trabajo
incentive
liviano y trabajo
programs, and
pesado
support the
por medio
continued
de
build
esos
out of
incentivos para que
robust,
sean
smart, statewide charging
accesibles a la
infrastructure
gente.
to
Y vamos
ensure
a
we address
construir la
concerns about
infraestructura
range
y hablar de
anxiety
las
throughout the
preocupaciones
state.
acerca de cuánto pueden
To
andar
reduce
esos
harmful
carros
air
en el estado.
pollutions
Entonces, para
from
disminuir la
diesel-powered
contaminación del
vehicles,
aire
the
de los
Commonwealth will
carros
work with neighboring
legales,
states to
vamos a
develop and
trabajar con
implement
otros estados
low carbon
para
fuel standards
implementar
by
estándar
2026.
de bajo carbón
While
para el año
electrifying our vehicles
2026.
and
Y
decarbonizing our
al
transportation
electrificar
fuels are
los
important
vehículos
strategies, we will
y
also
sean
pursue strategies to
estrategias
reduce
importantes,
vehicle
vamos a
miles
seguir
traveled,
estrategias para
including
disminuir
strengthening
las
incentives
millas que
and
se viaja
opportunities to lock in permanent
y
reductions
la manera de
in the number
buscar
of
una
vehicle
reducción
vehicle
permanente en
miles
el
traveled
número de
annually by
vehículos, el número
commuters
de millas
statewide.
que estamos viajando en todo el estado.
We will also continue to encourage and
Y también vamos
incentivize a
a
broad range of
incentivar
smart growth.
y animar lo que se
Smart
llama
growth
crecimiento
policies
inteligente,
will
smart
encourage
growth.
fewer and shorter
Entonces eso va a animar
motor
a la
vehicle
gente
trips,
que use menos el
prioritize
carro o
development
que los
near
viajes
public
sean más
transit,
chiquitos.
and enable
Queremos
the use of
incentivar el
alternative
desarrollo de
zero-carbon
viviendas
mobility
cerca
options
de los
like walking
trenes o de
and
los
biking.
buses y también animar a la
Next
gente
slide, please.
que vayan caminando o en la bicicleta.
Now I'm going to talk about the
Ahora quiero
energy
hablar
sector.
del sector de energía.
We will need to ensure that our landmark nation-leading
Entonces
clean
tenemos
energy
que
and
asegurar
clean
de
transmission
que
procurement,
nuestro plan
including
de
3.2
obtención
gigawatt of offshore
que
wind, 1
3.2
gigawatt of hydropower, and
gigavatios
3.2
de
gigawatt of
energía
smart
que viene
solar
de
program come online, as those
poder
will
de
be
viento
essential
en el
in
mar
achieving our
y
2030
también
limits.
3.2
These are all programs
gigavatios
that
de
have
solar
already
y
been
1 gigavatio
designed, and
de
we were on our
hidropoder, o sea,
pathways
de
to developing them
hidroelectricidad.
and implementing them.
Entonces vamos a implementar
We will
y hacer
facilitate
lo
a
posible.
path to market
Vamos a
for an
facilitar un
additional 2
camino a los
gigawatt of
mercados
new
para 2
distributed clean generation
gigavatios
between
para
2025
energía
and
limpia
2030, an
generada
additional
entre
6 gigawatt
2025 y
of offshore wind in
2030 y
Massachusetts
más por encima de esos
beyond
6
2030.
gigavatios de poder de
Additionally, we will
viento en
continue to
marítimo
lead
entre
in multi-state
2030 y
efforts that the
2040.
governors
Y
of
vamos a revisar
all the New
diferentes
England
estados y
states
todos los
have
estados de
committed
Nueva
to
Inglaterra se han
realign our regional
comprometido a
system
realizar
planning.
un
That means
sistema
transmission
regional
planning,
y
markets, our
planeamiento,
wholesale
planificación
electricity
regional
markets, and
para el
our wholesale
mercado
operations
de
with state
electricidad
decarbonization efforts.
y como los esfuerzos de descarbonización de los estados.
We have received some comments and
Entonces hemos
questions
recibido ciertos
around the
comentarios y
accounting and
preguntas
assumption for
acerca de
electricity generation.
cómo hemos hecho los
We
números
definitely
para
have
la
built
generación de
our 2030
electricidad
plan
y
and
de
the
energía.
roadmap,
Hemos
2050 roadmap,
construido ese
based
plan
on the
de
accounting
2030 y
methodology and
2050
emissions rate from the
basado
mass
en la
DEP greenhouse
metodología
gas
que hemos
inventory.
sacado
But we
inventario
do
de los
expect to update the inventory in the
gases
next
de
few years
efecto
to adjust our
invernadero de
calculations
Massachusetts y vamos a
accordingly
cambiar
so that
esos
we can ensure that we
cálculos
meet our
de
2030
acuerdo a la
limits.
información nueva para estar
Next slide,
seguro que
please.
llegamos a la meta de
I want to talk
2030.
next about
Y quiero
non-energy
hablar de
sector.
nuevo
In
del
the interim
sector no
2030 Clean
energía.
Energy Climate Plan,
Entonces,
a
en
lot
el plan
since
de
then, since we have
2030,
published
mucho,
it, a
desde
lot
que lo
has happened at
publicamos,
the
mucho ha
federal level.
cambiado al nivel
We
federal.
expect to update the discussion
Y
around federal
esperamos
actions in the
poner al
final
día
2030
esta
plan, including
conversación
the
en el plan
passage of the
final del
American
2030
Innovation and
y
Manufacturing
también
Act, or the AIM Act,
incluyendo
that
el
enacts a
Act
phase
AIM
down of
de American
hydrofluorocarbons,
Innovation
HFCs.
Entonces, para
HFCs are potent climate
seguir
pollutants
disminuyendo
commonly
los
used as
HFC.
coolants in
Eso
air
es una cosa que
conditioners and
generalmente se usan
refrigerators.
en aire
We will be
acondicionado y en
implementing a
neveras para
regulation to
enfriar.
limit the sale of
Entonces, vamos a limitar la venta
HFCs in the
de
Commonwealth,
HFC
and will support
aquí en el
policies
estado
at the
y vamos
federal
a
level,
apoyar las
like the AIM
pólizas a
Act,
nivel
that
federal,
further
así
curb the
como la
emissions from
ley
highly
AIM,
potent
para
climate pollutants.
tratar de limitar el efecto
We
de
will also
estos
be working with
contaminantes que son
other
poderosos.
agencies
Y vamos
across
a
the
estar
state
trabajando con
to
otras
ensure best
agencias en el estado
practices
para
are in
asegurar las
place
mejores
around
prácticas que
waste,
estén puestas
wastewater,
en
and
cuanto a
agricultural
las aguas
emissions.
negras, agua
Next
que
slide.
no se ha usado y también en
The
las
land
emisiones
sector.
agriculturales. Y la
The land
última es en
sector
cuanto a la
analysis from our
tierra, ese
2050
sector de
roadmap
tierra.
study
El
indicates that
análisis
our
de este
trees and our
camino
vegetation are sequestering about
del
5
estudio
million
del
metric
camino.
tons
Hay
of carbon
5
dioxide
millones
per
de
year.
toneladas métricas
Combined with
de
45%
contaminantes.
reduction in gross emissions,
Entonces queremos
this type of
cuando lo
sequestering
ponemos
will help
y eso
Massachusetts
secuestra
reach a
esta
50%
cantidad.
net
Entonces
zero
eso
emissions
nos
by
va a
20,
ayudar
50%
alcanzar
reduction of the
una
net
reducción de
emissions
50%
by 2030.
de las emisiones netas
Now,
para
the
el
gross emissions
2030.
are the total emissions
Así,
that
esas
one
son las
can account
emisiones
for
totales que uno puede
without factoring
contar
the sequestration.
sin tomar en
So
cuenta
once we account for the
la
carbon
secuestración.
sequestration,
Y una
that's
vez
what
que
we
tomamos en
consider
cuenta la
net
secuestración,
emissions.
eso le dice
In the
emisiones
next 2
netas.
years, we will update the
Entonces, en
statewide
los próximos 2
GHG
años
emissions
vamos a cambiar
inventory to support and track
GHD
carbon
para
sequestration
apoyar y
as
para
part of the new
monitorear la
effort to
secuestración
align emissions
de
accounting
carbonos
with a net zero
para
by 2050.
llegar a neto cero para el año 2050.
Massachusetts has a good track record of protecting
tiene
our
un buen
natural and
récord de
working lands,
proteger el
including
trabajo
an innovative
el
urban tree
terreno de
planting
trabajo y
program
natural.
in our
Y
gateway
tenemos un
cities.
programa también para sembrar
Massachusetts
árboles
Resilient
en
Lands
las
Initiative
comunidades
and
gateway
Healthy
donde
Soil
viven los
Action Plan
migrantes.
include best
Entonces,
land management
el plan
practices
de
that the
cuidado del
Commonwealth will be
terreno tiene
implementing in the
planes de
coming
mejores
years to
prácticas que
protect
vamos a implementar en
ecosystem
los próximos
health
años
and enhance
para
carbon
implementar
sequestration.
la salud
Massachusetts
y
is
también
also
para
collaborating with
la
neighboring states to
secuestración de
incentivize
carbono.
the
Y
regional
también
use
estamos
of
trabajando
harvested
Massachusetts
wood
con otro
in
estado
long-lived
para
products
incentivar
such as
la
cross-laminated timber
fabricación
and
regional
wood-based
de
building insulation, which
la
help harvested
insulación
carbon
basado
remain
en
stored
madera,
and
que eso
support
ayuda
the
también
local
para
and regional economy.
capturar el
Our
carbono y
national
para
working
ayudar
land
a la
alone
economía
will not be
local.
enough to help
Así que
Commonwealth
nuestro
reach net
terreno
zero by
natural de
2050.
por sí no será
Therefore, we will
suficiente para
convene
que
an
lleguemos a
interagency
cero
task
neto
force
para
on carbon
2050. Por
sequestration to
eso vamos a
advise
tener
on the
un
development of a
comité
net zero
sobre
accounting
secuestración
framework and a
para
carbon
llegar
sequestration
a
market
tener
framework by
secuestración o
2025.
neto cero para 2025.
The public comment period
El periodo de
closes
comentario
on
público
March
se cierra
22nd.
el 22 de
Next
marzo.
slide, please.
Sí, próxima diapositiva.
Hopefully, you've had
Se
time
espera
to
que
evaluate,
usted
to
tiene
assess,
tiempo
and
para
to review
evaluar
the Clean Energy Climate Plan.
ese
And we
plan de
welcome all
energía
of your comments in addition to what we're going to hear today.
Y clima.
Over this month
También los
and
comentarios que
next,
vamos a
after
escuchar
we
hoy.
review, after we receive
Durante
the
este
comments,
mes y el
we
mes
will
que viene,
review them.
después de
And
recibir
our
los
plan
comentarios,
is
vamos
to
a
release a
repasar todos
finalized
esos
document
comentarios
at the
y se
end of
espera que
April.
vamos a publicar
I
un
really
documento
appreciate you
final para
joining us
finales de
today
abril.
and to
De veras
learn about
aprecio
this
su
critical
presencia
plan to
hoy
reduce
y
greenhouse
aprender
gas
acerca de
emissions
ese
over the
plan
next
crítico
decade.
para
And I
reducir las
very much look
emisiones
forward to
durante la
listening
próxima
to
década.
other
Y sí
comments
estoy
as
esperando
you
ansiosamente
provide
su
them this
comentario
evening.
mientras
Thank you.
ustedes lo vayan proveyendo esta noche.
Thank you, Judy. If we can go to the next
Gracias,
slide,
Judy. Si
we
podemos ir a la
are
próxima
going to be
diapositiva.
opening it up for
Entonces
public
vamos a abrirlo
comments.
ahora a los
We
comentarios
had quite a few folks
públicos.
sign up to provide
Tenemos
comments,
mucha
so
gente que han
we're going to
levantado la
ask
mano que dice que
to
quieren
aim for
hacer
2 minutes
comentario
or less,
público.
but
Estamos
we
pidiendo
will
que
give you up
sean
to 2
2
minutes if you
minutos
need
o
it.
menos.
Please click on the raise hand function
Solo tienen que tocar la
within
función
Zoom, and we will
levanta la
know to
mano,
call on
raise
you.
hand, que está
We'll
en la
call on
parte de
folks
abajo de la
first
pantalla.
who signed up in advance and
Y
let us know
vamos
they would
a
be providing comment,
hablar
as well
primero
as
de los
folks who
que
did
se
not already
levantaron la
provide
mano
comment last week.
y
But
junto
I
con la
believe
gente
we
que
should be
no
able to get
dieron
through
comentario la
everyone.
semana pasada. Yo creo que
So
nos
with
da
that,
tiempo
I'm
para
going to go
escuchar todos los
and
comentarios.
it looks like Lucia
Parece
is
que Lucia.
first on the list. So you should be able to unmute yourself. Lucia, are you there?
Yes, thank you very much. My name is Lucia Dolan. I'm with the 350 Mass Transportation Working Group.
Estoy con
And I'm only
350
going
Mass
to discuss the
Transportation Working Group.
transportation section because that's the one we've paid most attention to.
Porque
And
nosotros
we're
estamos
very
pendientes de
concerned
este
about the
sector.
lack of goals for
Estamos
increasing,
preocupados
expanding,
por
and
la falta de
electrifying public
metas para
transit in the CECP.
electrificar el
We find
tránsito
it worrying
público en
that
ese documento
MassDOT
nuevo,
is in
CPS.
2021.
Yo creo
Its
que
capital
el
investment
Departamento de
plan is
Transporte
purchasing
en
460
2021
diesel buses and
dice que están
25 diesel
comprando
trains, committing the
más de
state to diesel for
400
decades. As the
buses y
CECP
trenes
itself states,
de uso de
transportation
petróleo
is the
diésel.
largest sector of greenhouse
Entonces,
gas
sabemos
emissions in
que
the
en
state.
Massachusetts
It is the only
el
sector of
transporte es el
greenhouse
sector
gas
más
emissions
grande
that's
de
increasing.
emisiones de efecto
The
invernadero.
CECP also states that
Y
increases in vehicle miles traveled may offset some or all of the benefits from fuel switching, electrifying in other words, and alternative transportation modes. Both environmental justice and smart growth depend on mass transit. And I realized part of the TCI funding is planning on going towards mass transit, but I still think it needs to be much more than that. We urge the state to reduce both greenhouse gases and particulate matter pollution by committing to increasing, expanding, and electrifying transportation, public transportation. Thank you.
Expandiendo el transporte público. Gracias.
Great, thank you very much, Lucia. Lucia, excuse me. We'll go next to Audrey Schulman. I am allowing you to talk now. Go ahead, Audrey.
Okay, thanks so much. I just wanted to say that with the building energy efficiency, one of the problems with air source heat pumps is that you generally have to have enough extra income to be able to afford them or good enough credit to do so. So it can be an equity issue, especially given that the energy bills can be more expensive afterwards.
porque pueden ser muy caros
have you
después.
considered instead, you know, if we all do that, begin one by one to leave the gas system, that will leave the people who can least afford it on the gas system.
Eso nos dejaría a la gente más
will result
pobre
in stranded
guindando
assets,
del sistema de
you know,
petróleo,
with the low income who can't afford a new heating system,
donde la gente pobre quizás no pueden poner un boiler nuevo con lo que cuesta, con ese gasto fijo que va.
Then that seems like a horrible way to go.
Me parece
so have
que
you instead
mala idea.
considered networked
Quizás
geothermal?
No han pensado en hacer una red de geotermal que puede ser instalado por las compañías de energía, usando su finanza, con su capacidad de hacerlo en las calles, donde está su cliente. Quizás usando eso podemos llegar más rápido a nuestras metas y no dejar atrás a esa gente que no tiene el dinero para hacerlo. Y decir, los trabajadores que trabajan actualmente en gas pueden seguir con trabajos. Esas netas de ground source heat pumps, geotermal. Y si tienen una red, entonces se puede comprar y se puede cancelar. Por ejemplo, el supermercado de la esquina puede sacar aire acondicionado y puede calentar el agua para las casas que colindan con la tienda. Entonces todo se paga por la energía, la compañía de gas. Entonces quizás eso ayudará con los asuntos de equidad y se hará más fácil. Gracias. Más rápido, perdón.
Thank you very much, Audrey. I am going
Gracias,
next
Audrey.
to Fran Cummings.
Fran,
I've just unmuted you. I think you should be able to unmute yourself.
Okay, thank you very much. Thanks for the opportunity for all of us to comment. Consistent with the comments that I made a year ago in Worcester, I really recommend that the state be more ambitious even than you already have.
Hasta más allá de lo que han ido hasta ahora.
Yo reconozco que han hecho mucho y es un tremendo plan excelente. Entonces, pero 45%, eso es solamente el promedio de lo que han dicho. Pero Massachusetts es una economía avanzada con capacidades. Y tenemos responsabilidad por nuestras emisiones históricas. Debemos de hacer mejor que otras partes del planeta. No debemos de sentirnos satisfechos que si el mundo tiene que hacer 50%, nosotros vamos a hacer 50%. El otro comentario que este plan tiene que identificar más acciones más específicas que se va a tomar. Y también las fuentes de fondos, o sea, de Massachusetts o del gobierno federal o del sector privado. Es un poquito demasiado esperar, se pone más demasiado en la esperanza y no suficiente en el plan específico. Gracias por dejarme comentar.
Thank you, Fran. I am going next to Stephen Dodge. I am giving you the ability to talk. Oh, go ahead, Stephen.
Great, thanks so much. My name is Stephen Dodge. I'm from the National Biodiesel Board. I just want to preface my remarks by just reading a couple of short sentences directly from the report. And this is my comments really focused on the building sector, the thermal sector. And the report says transitioning the building sector in a strategic and least cost manner is challenging as it relies on immediately starting to leverage stock turnover points. The relatively long life of HVAC equipment, often 20 to 30 years,
de cambiar toda la cosa de calefacción y de aire en 30 años. Mucho va a ser, todo van a estar en servicio para el 2050. ¿Qué quiere decir? Que es comprar cosas eléctricas, esa transición, hay que hacerlo rápidamente para cambiar a un sistema de calefacción basado en una bomba de aire. Entonces, eso, especialmente en las comunidades más pobres, va a ser bien difícil. Nosotros creemos que hay un pedazo del rompecabezas que hace falta.
but we feel is a missing piece, and that's biofuels, which is not really mentioned at all in this report. It's mentioned in the 2050 Pathways report. In fact, ironically, it's one of the suggestions mentioned in the medium and heavy-duty transportation
Entonces se
sector.
menciona en
I
cuanto
think we would suggest if it's good enough in medium and heavy-duty transportation sector, it should be good enough, at least as one piece of the puzzle for the thermal heating sector as well. And as you may know, the heating oil industry is proactively working towards reducing the carbon intensity of its fuel. A couple of years ago, the industry passed a so-called Providence Resolution, which establishes the attainable goal of achieving a 15% reduction in greenhouse gas emissions by 2023 using 2020, goes on up to net zero using B100 by 2050. And other states have seen this as a pathway, as I mentioned, New York, Rhode Island, California, on the transportation side. The transition electricity is really a laudable goal, and it can make sense if it's affordable, if the infrastructure is capable of handling the load, and the source of the electricity is low carbon, as you point out. However, reaching that level of decarbonization will take many years and lots of money. And I'll just quickly end by using myself as an example. Back in January, my furnace went. It was in the 20s. My daughter was home from school. My wife was teaching from home. I was working from home. We did not have the luxury or the option of trying to transition our heating system, which is forced hot water now, into any type of electricity. Type of heat pump. So we went with a furnace again, and our last one lasted 25 years, and maybe this one will as well. So my point is, there is a pathway. This report, and we feel that biofuels should be actively, and bioheat should be actively considered as a viable pathway to 2030, as it's mentioned in the 2050 report.
Como se menciona en el reporte de 2050.
Great, thank you, Stephen. I'm going to go next to Claire Chang.
Vamos a ir con Claire Chang.
Hi there, thank you very much. I'm sorry for the noise here. So I wanted to comment on the energy sector portion. The report says 1 gigawatt of solar per year, no, 1 gigawatt of wind per year, and 500 megawatts of solar per year. That is vastly under the number that we need to be aiming for. The Brattle report states emphatically that we need 2 to 4 gigawatts of solar per year in order to have any chance of being able to get to 100%, and that's 100% renewable energy by 2050. Net zero is not a goal. That's just a placeholder. We have to get to 100% renewable by 2050 at the minimum. And I would say it should be 2040. And Massachusetts needs to get way ahead of itself here in order to be able to claim to be at the head of the pack. A small thing, I think the Mass Save incentive needs to include storage, because that's one thing that every person, every household can participate in. They don't need wind or solar on their house or in their apartment, but they can do storage. So that's something that needs to be able to be incentivized for everyone to participate. The other thing is induction cooking. Instead of gas cooking, an introduction would be single hot plates. I think that would be a wonderful way for people to learn about induction cooking and to be turned on by it. It's wonderful. And the last thing is that jet fuel needs to be included in the transportation climate TCIP. I'm not sure what the I stands for. So I think that covers most of my comments, and thank you very much for listening.
Great, thank you, Claire. And before we go to the next speaker, I just want to remind folks that comments will be submitted as part of the record, but we also are accepting comments online as well if you'd like to follow any of this up with
escribirlo si alguien
so
quiere seguir
with that, I'm going to go to
en la presentación con comentario por escrito.
Sue,
Ahora vamos a pasar a Sue Butler.
Great, she's got permission. Thank you so much.
Gracias.
I'm Sue Butler. I serve on the Sierra Club Energy Committee.
I
really would like to support what Fran Cummings and Audrey Schulman said.
Entonces quiero lo que dijo Fran y Audrey. Tenemos que descarbonizarnos y también dejar el gas que no es natural y para la energía renovable cuanto antes. Biomasa no es una alternativa, es menos productivo que gas o que carbón y tiene implicaciones para la salud pública. El modelo de Audrey de una red de energía geotermal es excelente. Yo estaba en un edificio de 5 unidades y yo tengo 2 pozos que hacen como una red entre ellos que cada unidad puede controlar su calefacción y el aire acondicionado.
There are errors in the IPCC report.
Entonces hay errores
the report
en el
in 2015 from the Grantham Institute talking about how the oceans have buffered not just carbon dioxide but also heat. And if that heat had been in the air, we would have had a 68.5 degrees Fahrenheit increase in temperature. So we are on a very slippery slope, thinking that we can take our time here. We've got to move quickly. We've got to get super efficient. We've got to get completely on renewables and protect our biomass because it provides both carbon sequestration in the ground and also with evapotranspiration, it cools the earth. And there are 4 major scientists and engineers who say that if we want to solve this problem, it will happen with evapotranspiration by planting 12 billion acres of trees, grasslands, and wetlands. And what you're working on is one small part of trying to stabilize an unfolding catastrophe. And I really appreciate the way that you're addressing this and welcoming comments. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sue. I will go next to Sarah Ross. I am giving you permission to speak up.
Great. Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
My name is Sarah Ross. I'm the co-founder of Undaunted K-12. I have a specific comment on strategy B1 and then a general comment on the Commonwealth strategy for citizen engagement. And then just, more broadly, I would certainly echo the calls for more ambition here. So specifically on strategy B1, I would urge the states to avoid lock-in of building systems. I would urge the Commonwealth to leverage the current COVID-inspired attention on HVAC and ventilation in our K-12 schools to ensure that schools do not lock in with like-for-like replacements of fossil fuel-based heating systems. Schools have now received over $200 billion in COVID relief. If the Biden administration is successful in passing an infrastructure bill that includes schools, there will be more funding available. As these relief funds flow to Massachusetts, it is absolutely critical that these funds are focused on frontline communities, and that the DOER and the Massachusetts School Building Authority provide technical guidance and support to ensure that all HVAC upgrades are consistent with the goals of electrification. This guidance is urgently needed so that this spending can be aligned with the Commonwealth's climate plan. More broadly, the Commonwealth should consider making K-12 schools a centerpiece of its strategy. Schools are highly visible and highly cherished buildings in all communities. Deploying our building sector and transportation strategies in schools offer the state the opportunity to showcase the viability of these strategies to a wide array of community stakeholders, including students through integrated student learning experiences. Decarbonization of schools will lead to concrete and well-documented health and performance benefits for students and teachers, especially in frontline communities that bear the worst of climate impacts. Improvements in the energy efficiency of schools can deliver energy savings, which can support y también ahorros
a las propuestas que puede ayudar a las propuestas cuando están más afectados. Y
So
sabemos
resilient
en esta
schools are a
pandemia que las
cornerstone of
escuelas
any
son
community resilience
infraestructura
plans.
de primer
Thanks very
rango,
much.
de primer grado. Gracias.
Thank you very much, Sarah. We're going to go next to Joe.
Ahora vamos a ir
allowing
con
you to
Joe.
talk while I, Joe, you were unmuted.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. My name is Joe Uglieto,
Yo soy
and
Joe
I am the president of
Uglieto.
Diversified Energy Specialists.
Soy
I'm an
presidente de
aggregator of the
First Five Energy
Massachusetts Alternative
Specialists.
Energy Portfolio Standard.
Y yo manejo el estándar de portafolio de Massachusetts de energía.
APS has been extremely successful,
Así,
especially
BPS ha
with
sido
using
un
biodiesel to
éxito,
displace heating
especialmente
oil
usando
in home heating. And I
biocombustible para
was curious
reemplazar
why
al petróleo para
biodiesel wasn't
calefacción.
included
Y yo pregunto que por
part of
qué
the
biodiesel no fue
solution to meet the
incluido como parte de
2030
la
and 2050
solución
goals in
para llegar a
Massachusetts.
las metas en Massachusetts
57
del
million gallons of
2030 y
heating oil has been
2050,
displaced over the last few years
que
with
hemos
biodiesel through the APS
desplazado
program.
millones
Biodiesel,
de
UCO-based,
galones
provides 80% reduction
de
from home
petróleo
heating
por
oil, which has resulted in the
biodiesel.
elimination of more than 1 billion
Y eso
pounds of
ha
carbon dioxide in
llevado
Massachusetts
a
from home
millones de
heating.
la eliminación de
Looking at
mucha
the most used
contaminación.
thermal technologies in
Entonces,
Massachusetts,
mirando esa
electricity, natural
tecnología
gas, heating oil, and
de
propane,
electricidad,
natural gas and
gas
propane can't
natural y
reduce their
propano,
carbon score
no
at
pueden
scale, while
reducir
electricity can reduce their carbon score through renewable
como las
electricity
marcas de
generation.
carbono
Heating oil also
al nivel que necesitamos, pero
committed
biodiesel
to
sí lo puede
a
hacer.
40% reduction by 2030 and net
Puede
zero
llevar a
carbon fuel by
40% de
2050 to the
reducción para
profit resolution.
2030 y
I
más
think the
para 2050.
CEPC should focus on
A
converting natural gas and
CECP
propane heating
debe de
systems to
enfocarse en
electricity,
convertir
allowing heating
eso a
oil industry to
electricidad,
reduce their greenhouse gas
ayudando a la
emissions to meet the
industria
2030 and 2050
de
state goals
petróleo
with
para
biodiesel,
calefacción,
while alleviating the
para
added
que
grid
lleguen a
load and
sus
added cost
metas
of
de
electricity that will
biodiesel.
result from air source heat pump conversions.
Perdón,
Cost to
con
convert to
mucha
heat pumps
palabra a
is
la vez.
extremely high for homeowners.
Así que el gasto es
Conversions
súper
will
alto
add
para
grid
los
load and
dueños de
increase the
casa
cost of electricity.
y va a aumentar
Electrifying the
el
building
precio de la
sector will nearly
electricidad.
double the
Así que
grid load and double the amount of renewable
electrificar el
electricity
sistema de
generation
calefacción.
needed to reach net
Entonces va a
zero carbon
tener que
electricity.
duplicar esa
In addition,
capacidad
air source heat
de la
pumps cannot
generación
efficiently
de
heat homes here
electricidad
in
aquí en el
Massachusetts
estado.
and will need electric resistance heating as a supplementary heat source for the cold winter days. Pushing homeowners to convert to air source heat pumps will cost more than $20,000 per installation. Environmental justice populations will not be able to afford these conversions. Air source heat pump installations will only occur in mid to high income communities
familia, cada hogar.
while
Y eso
environmental
será
justice
más difícil
populations
para
won't be
las
able to afford
familias
them.
de las áreas
This
pobres que
will
no
increase the
tienen
cost of
fondos para
electricity
eso.
for all ratepayers,
Aumentar el
including
precio de
environmental
electricidad para
justice
todos los que
populations.
están en parte del
This will
sistema,
increase a
y
large
especialmente para
greenhouse
esas
gas emissions
comunidades que
gap
menos pueden
and a
pagar
large
esos
energy
gastos
affordability
nuevos.
gap in Massachusetts, which will
Entonces se
result
va a
in
formar
devastating effects to
un
environmental justice
abismo
populations.
entre lo que
Biofuels can
cuestan y
reduce
lo que la
greenhouse
gente
gas
puede
emissions
pagar.
now, which is more valuable than in 2030.
Entonces,
in addition,
hay
biofuels
que
can be
cambiar
distributed at a wide
esa
scale
práctica
with
ahora
no
que son
additional
de más
cost to the
valor ahora que
homeowners.
van a ser en 2030.
I urge you to consider biodiesel as part
Así
of the
que le
solution for
pido por
environmental
favor que
justice
consideren
populations.
biodiesel como parte de la
I believe that the
solución.
plan as
Yo
written
creo que plantar como
can be
está
very
escrito
harmful to environmental
puede
justice
hacer mucho
populations if
daño
biodiesel isn't
a las
considered part of the
poblaciones
solution.
de justicia ambiental. Gracias.
Thank you, Joe. We're going next to Chris Cerami.
Ahora Chris
I've
Cerami.
just given you ability to talk. Though it looks like you are still muted. Oh, yep, go ahead, Chris.
I'm with the Take Back the Grid campaign of Boston DSA.
Entonces estoy con la campaña
I want
Take Back
to echo some of the
algo
previous
así,
comments about mass transportation.
Reflejar acerca del
for example, rather
transporte.
than relying on 100,000 or so new electric vehicles being sold every year.
Entonces estamos pensando que se va a vender 100,000 vehículos eléctricos nuevos al año.
Most people cannot afford to buy
La mayoría de la gente no puede comprar un carro eléctrico
y
sin un incentivo o un programa no tiene suficiente dinero. Eso no ayuda a la persona que no tiene dinero para un carro nuevo. Y después no tienen acceso a la infraestructura para cargar las baterías de tal carro eléctrico.
Similarly,
de la misma manera,
owners can't afford heating upgrades.
Que la gente que son dueños de casa no tiene dinero para ese boiler nuevo.
Making their home more efficient. And landlords who
quieren
pass
hacer
utility
la
costs
casa
along
más
to renters
eficiente,
have no incentive to upgrade, as any costs that they view unnecessary would
pero no
cut
pueden
their
hacer
profits.
estos arreglos
So the state
con lo
needs to be
que
much more
cuesta.
active
Así
in
que el
building
Estado
retrofits that
tiene
aren't
que
just really done
invertir
by
más para
homeowners.
ayudar
And
a
rather than
los
relying on markets
residentes
to make
a
utilities
hacer
affordable,
esos cambios.
these
No se
utilities
puede
can and should
confiar
be controlled
en
at
el
the local and
mercado.
state level and publicly funded
Esto
so that they can
se debe de confiar al
under more
Estado y
democratic
debe de
control
ser
of
de
the people
fondos
who will be
públicos.
utilizing them. And that will allow us
Si
to
no, menos gente
get
va a
out
estar
of
usándolo.
relying on corporations
Y así no
who
tenemos
are
que
going to
confiar en
search
las
for a cheap and quick
corporaciones
solution rather than something that's going to long-term be
en vez
sustainable for our planet.
de que sea algo de largo plazo en que se puede confiar.
Great, thank you, Chris.
Gracias, Chris.
We are going to go to Maria Belen. I just
Ahora María
gave you
Belén.
permission to speak.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
¿Me escuchan? Hola, mi nombre es María Belén Power y yo soy la directora asociada de Green Roots Raíces Verdes, una organización de justicia ambiental en las comunidades de Chelsea y de East Boston. Green Roots Raíces Verdes es parte del grupo de trabajo de justicia climática como parte del Consejo Asesor de Implementación. Primero quisiera agradecer por proveer interpretación para que las comunidades como la mía puedan participar. Esto es un gran paso para las comunidades de justicia ambiental. También quiero resaltar 3 temas. El primero es sobre el transporte público. Nosotros creemos que debe de haber una meta dedicada solamente al transporte público y detallar cómo el Estado se va a comprometer a electrificar los buses. Primeramente y especialmente en las poblaciones de justicia ambiental, las cuales dependen en el transporte público para poder sobrevivir. Segundo, quiero resaltar el tema de las infraestructuras de electrificación, como las plantas eléctricas o las subestaciones. A medida que vamos electrificando los sectores, especialmente el sector del transporte público y los sistemas de calefacción, el Estado tiene que asegurarse que las comunidades más impactadas por el cambio climático y la justicia ambiental no vayan a llevar otro cargo más de estas infraestructuras que pueden ser peligrosas. La secretaria de esta misma agencia, la Agencia de Asuntos Ambientales, acaba de aprobar una subestación en la comunidad de East Boston, en uno de los lugares más peligrosos que se pueden imaginar, al lado de tanques de petróleo, en un terreno que ya se ha inundado varias veces, al lado de un parque de recreación y en un vecindario increíblemente denso, en el cual mayormente viven inmigrantes de bajos recursos. Si de verdad vamos a seguir electrificando los diferentes sectores, no podemos echarle otra vez más la carga a las comunidades más pobres, las comunidades de color y las comunidades que no hablan inglés. Esto es exactamente lo opuesto a la justicia ambiental y a la justicia climática. Y como último punto, quisiera resaltar la necesidad de incorporar la justicia ambiental y la justicia climática a través de todo este plan y no solamente en algunas áreas. Muchas gracias.
And Maria Belén, thank you very much for those comments. For the English audience, I don't know, we captured them in Spanish. If you would like to provide translation, or we could have the interpreter provide that, we could make that happen, or you can leave it. I want to give you that option.
Perdón, yo pensé que iba a haber interpretación al inglés también.
And I unfortunately did not understand that, but I will give you.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought there was. I thought there would be interpretation both ways, into Spanish and into English, for it to be bilingual.
I think in this Spanish room, they probably just let you speak. Go ahead, and then in the other. Oh, unfortunately, yes, the other rooms, unless they know Spanish, they would not be able to translate it from their language.
I guess, sorry, I'll just finish by, I mean, I obviously provided comments with some like content that it's important to share, and I can share that in English. I guess the point about language interpretation is that it can't just be one way. It needs to be 2 ways for the conversation to be really fluid.
Thank you. Anything else you'd like to add, or else I can move on.
Thank you.
No, thank you very much. I'm going to go next to Connor Rocket. Connor, if you are able to, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm a Forest Policy Fellow at New England Forestry Foundation based in Littleton, speaking on behalf of the organization.
Una organización de bosques en Massachusetts, hablando para su organización y residente de Cambridge,
over 140 community forests,
que manejan a 140 bosques y muchos acres a lo largo de Nueva Inglaterra. Y mis comentarios tienen que ver con los sectores de construcción y de la tierra. Y quiero comentar que ellos incluyeron a los incentivos para el uso de productos de madera y nosotros recomendamos esta estrategia para tener un estándar como una marca, una pauta para la construcción en el CECP y requerir que los materiales de construcción lleguen a un estándar para disminuir los contaminantes del sector de construcción y usar esos productos como mass timber. Entonces eso también une las prácticas de construcción con productos limpios de madera y para el sector de construcción y de terreno. California y otros estados han empezado a adoptar esos estándares. Y entonces queremos que Massachusetts también se ponga por el mismo camino. Gracias de nuevo por su consideración de mis comentarios. Que nosotros vamos a elaborar de forma escrita el liderazgo para hablar de esa crisis climática.
Thank you very much, Connor.
Gracias, Connor.
Next to Elizabeth Sockwell.
Elizabeth Sockwell.
Giving you permission.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so hi, my name's Elizabeth Sockwell. I'm from Newton, Massachusetts. I'm the leader of the 4C Tree Project, which is a COVID-19 tree memorial where we're going to plant 170 trees in honor of those who passed away due to COVID-19. And I'm actually currently a local environmental policy intern with the city councilor in Newton, Massachusetts. So I've been learning a lot recently about promoting sustainable local and
hemos estado aprendiendo acerca del desarrollo económico y comunitario. Y una cosa que ha sido bien frustrante para mí es cuando yo miré por internet para ver los recursos que había disponible a la persona regular. Y siempre encontraba reporte después de otro reporte hecho por expertos.
Like all these various, big wealthy firms that are,
compañías ricas, poderosas,
obviously with tax-paying dollars.
Que se han hecho con dinero de fondos públicos.
No, at this point, Massachusetts,
let's
be honest, we are no longer a leader in terms of the environment. The Global
Entonces ya hemos dejado de ser líderes en el medio ambiente. Entonces la última legislación que se hizo cuando yo estaba en la escuela elementaria, ahora tengo 23 años. Es algo emocional. Pero voy a quedarme con los hechos. Si vamos a mirar a la parte de construcción del reporte, dice que si nosotros implementamos una póliza de cero neto, si lo implementamos para 2023, solo vamos a reducir las emisiones por 87%. Está escrito en el reporte que fue publicado en diciembre. Y estoy bien frustrado porque eso fue publicado en diciembre. Entonces, ¿por qué el gobernador le puso su veto que va a permitir a ciudades como Newton para poner en práctica el año que viene los requerimientos, los requisitos que supuestamente nos va a llegar a cero neto para 2050 y al final vamos a seguir siendo leal a los desarrolladores principales y se ve que ahí está la lealtad del gobernador, o es que vamos a alinearnos más con las comunidades vulnerables que son más afectadas por los niveles del mar que van subiendo
all the problems that are coming
y
with
todos los
climate
problemas
change.
que acompañan al cambio climático. Ya estoy harto yo creo en la acción y yo siento que la acción comunitaria y mis palabras se va a escuchar. Y yo he estado llamando por varias semanas ya. Estoy preocupada que las personas, las voces de personas locales no se están escuchando. Necesitamos otro reporte. Necesitamos un reporte que sea escrito por las organizaciones no gubernamentales. Y yo creo que las voces de la gente común deben de ser incluidas. Necesitamos más colaboración y mejor gobernación aquí en Massachusetts. Yo quiero que Massachusetts sea un estado líder. Me encanta Boston. Pienso pasar el resto de mi vida aquí. Tengo mucho aprecio para la ciudad. Yo quiero mucho a la ciudad y al estado de Massachusetts. Y espero que se pueda usar este tiempo para pasar pólizas que protegen a las comunidades vulnerables y salvaguardan la calidad del aire y del agua.
Can you please wrap up?
Yeah, so overall, I just want to say we can have a more resilient and strong economy.
Podemos tener una economía resistente y más fuerte si hacemos la transición a energía verde. No necesitamos reportes, más acción.
Thank you very much. And I am going to thank you very much for folks who have registered in advance.
Gracias a las personas que se apuntaron de antemano y que han hablado.
For anyone who might be on the phone,
no sé si alguien que está en la línea,
please press *9 to raise your hand if you do have any
estrella 9 si tiene algún comentario que quiere hacer.
As we get through the list, but next I'm going to go to Brian Campbell. Brian, I just give you permission.
So can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, this is Brian Campbell. I'm an electrical engineer educated at UMass Lowell. I originally was in a renewable energy track there. But this was like 35 years ago. We also have a nuclear reactor at UMass Lowell. And I interfaced, the renewable energy track has been a pretty good career for me, but I am now of the opinion that we must go nuclear. One of the things that I want to point out is Massachusetts, 73.3 million gigatons of emissions in 2018. Our goal is to get to 70.8.
Meta es de llegar a
70.8 reduction in greenhouse gas emissions. We didn't make it, not even with COVID. And the reason why is because we shut down Pilgrim nuclear power plant. That was 62% of our renewable, of our clean energy, including hydro and the renewables that have been installed in the last 20 years at a tremendous cost. And Pilgrim could have operated until 2032. It had a license until then. It makes no sense to me that we have done this, that we're not supporting our two last reactors in New England right now, which are Melstone, it's got 2 reactors, and Seabrook Nuclear Station in New Hampshire. Instead, the state actively campaigns to shut those down by supporting an organization called C2 up in Newburyport, to a tune of about $180,000 a year. It's crazy. And so I got these figures from the Energy Information Administration that the Department of Energy runs. And the biggest thing I want to show, that I want to talk about, is that anybody can see how good nuclear is by just comparing our grid, our ISO New England grid, to Ontario's nuclear power grid. It's got about 65% nuclear,
ellos tienen como 65% de
energía nuclear,
20% comparado con 20%
in New England.
En Nueva Inglaterra.
And the price for per kilowatt hour is twice as cheap in Ontario as in New England. I'm paying 23 cents a kilowatt hour in Cambridge. Okay, and the emissions in Ontario are the lowest in North America.
Y en Ontario, las emisiones son las más bajas
for letting me speak, and thank you very much.
Norteamérica. Gracias a todos.
Great. We want to make sure we can get to everyone. I see a couple of new hands are up. If anyone is preparing to make comments, please do raise your hands, and I'll try to time accordingly. But I'm going to go to Pamela Kelly now. Pamela, I've just given you permission, so you should be able to unmute. Go ahead, Pamela.
So my biggest concern is actually that we don't have anything in this that I can see so far that's on job creation and training. And you can't electrify everything unless you've got electricians. And our electricians are very curtailed. To get a master electrician, you have to have a master electrician for every site. And one apprentice only per master or journeyman electrician, unless you do something about really gearing up for the training of jobs, you're not going to get anywhere. Then the other thing is on financing. We've had a proposal before the legislature for 5 years, I believe now, on green banks, a proven system that will generate $3.5 for every of private investment for every $1 of public investment. It's getting a very strong support at the federal level, but we have to have a vehicle for collecting federal money that hopefully will be coming from the National Green Bank, which is called the Accelerator. It's now been introduced as of today by the chair of the National Energy Committee. There's a good chance that it might pass, and if it passes, it's asking for $100 billion over 10 years. I believe that will be enough, but to help move the financial opportunities that are available through states, but we have to have a vehicle to move that money, and that legislation has been introduced by my state representative, vice chair of the TUE for the House, Paul Mark, and that's a green bank bill. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Pamela. We'll go next to Gia Neswal that just unmuted you. So go ahead, Gia.
Hi, Claire. Thank you for your emails earlier today. You've been most kind. I'd like to reiterate the request of about 20 people to extend our comments deadline to the 31st due to the fact that we are still trying to get answers to questions that we thought we might receive from the presentation. And I appreciate your help working toward that, Claire. Another comment I think is of great importance is that our greatest terrestrial, both carbon sink and carbon storage facility is our forests. And we're blessed with a large number of forests, which would sequester about 30% of our emissions, at least on a national level.
Por lo menos a nivel nacional es ese número.
However, all forests are not created equal.
Todos los bosques no son iguales.
Scientifically known and will be documented.
Se sabe científicamente y será documentado en los comentarios.
The largest 1% of trees
que los árboles 100% secuestran 30% del carbono en un bosque temporal, así como en el noreste de los Estados Unidos, aquí donde vivimos. Y son esos árboles que son el blanco de esos productos duraderos de madera que supuestamente tienen vida de 1 año. Nuestros bosques son relativamente nuevos, son recientes y
perhaps
pueden tener
unlimited,
una
and
vida
that will be
quizás sin
documented,
límites y eso también va a ser
if
documentado.
allowed to grow naturally.
Si se
In any
dejan
case, the
crecer
individual
naturalmente, en cada
trees
caso, cada
are
árbol individual
on average
tiene en
120
promedio
years, or I'm
120
sorry, the
años.
oldest trees are
Perdón, los
120
más
years
viejos
old. They have
son
a
de
lifespan of
120
another
años.
200 to 300 years.
Quizás tienen otros
Barring any
200 o
disaster,
300 años
like
si no hay
climate change.
desastre, así como el cambio climático.
We need them.
Y los
We need them
necesitamos.
much more
Los necesitamos
for
más
sequestering
para
carbon
secuestrar el
than for
carbono
becoming alternatives
que para ser
for
alternativas
quick incineration and
para
which
incineración
would produce,
rápida
emissions
que va a
up to
producir más
3
emisiones, hasta
300%
3 veces
that
o
of natural gas and
300%
150%
sobre
of
el gas
coal.
natural y
Or for
150%
durable
de
wood
lo que es el
products, we need to
carbón.
go to hemp and other
Entonces
alternatives
tenemos
that
que pensar en
allow our
otros
trees to do
productos
their most
naturales que
important job. I'd
permiten
also
que
like to
los árboles hagan su trabajo
state
principal.
that there should be
También quiero
no
decir que
land
no debe de
sector
haber ningún
plan
sector de
until
tierra,
there's a
de
proper
terreno,
inventory.
hasta que
And
haya un
you and I, Claire, have
inventario
been talking about the
adecuado.
fact that there's
Y
no
Claire y yo hemos estado
inventory
hablando
yet
que no
for
hay un
carbon
inventario
sequestration,
para secuestración de carbono.
which, you know, that's about a third of the carbon
Eso es
that
como la
we're
tercera
holding.
parte del carbono
Thank
que
you for your time.
guardamos. Gracias por su tiempo.
Thank you, Gia. We'll go to Tony Beatty. Tony, I'm giving you permissions. Should be able to unmute.
Hi, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
So I am a selectman in the town of Pepperell.
Sí,
I'm
yo
also
soy
a long-term farmer.
del Consejo Municipal de Pepperell y yo
farms
también
would
soy
play a role
agricultor
in
que me gustaría ver a
climate
las fincas
change
jugar un papel en el
policies.
cambio, en las pólizas de cambio
I
climático.
think that even though we're 60%
Yo
of
creo
our
que
land mass,
aunque
we have
60% de nuestra
a great role in food security
tierra
as well as in
puede
sequestering
jugar un
carbon in our
papel también
soils.
para seguridad de comida,
There
por
are 2
encima de
bills that I've worked
secuestrar
on with Senator Ed Kennedy
carbono.
that will be coming
Entonces he trabajado en
to
dos
the
diferentes
State House.
pedazos de
One is
legislatura
to
que van a
support
llegar
dual
a la
use
Casa del Estado
solar
para
on
apoyar
farms,
el
which will allow
uso
farms
doble
to sell
de poder
electrons back into the
solar
grid
y eso
and create
permitirá
a second
a
revenue
las
stream,
fincas
which will
vender
help
poder
farms who are
solar
mostly in
eléctrico
distress
al grid.
economically.
Y eso
The
le
other bill
ayudará
is to
también con el
organize,
estrés
this is
económico.
going into a
Y
study,
la
I
otra
believe, how to
propuesta
get our
es un
feedstock, our waste
estudio que
feedstock, into a
para
compost facility that's licensed
buscar la manera
under
de
state
compostar,
control, and how to
de reciclar,
facilitate getting that compost into our soils, whether it be farm
buscar este
soils,
composte para que
municipal
se
soils,
incorpore
lawns,
al terreno,
etc. And happily, I
a
learned
las
that the
céspedes.
USDA is working on
Y yo sé que el Departamento de
soil
Agricultura
testing
está
so that we can
buscando
actually
una
map
manera nueva
carbon
de
content,
evaluar
microbes,
el terreno
water holding capacities of
para
our
que
soils,
podamos
which
buscar
will be
la capacidad de
great step
aguantar
in
agua
inventorying
de
what
las
we have now,
tierras y
and how
para
we can
mejorar
improve
el
on that,
inventario
measure
y cómo
that,
podemos
and
mejorar y
report on that
medirlo y
improvement.
hacer un reporte acerca
And
de ese
lastly, as a selectman,
mejoramiento.
I've
Y al
initiated,
final, como
we've appointed a climate change
consejero
committee in
municipal,
Pepperell,
hemos
whose
nombrado
task
un
is to
comité
help the
de cambio
town
climático
pass
para
out
ayudar al
what
pueblo,
opportunities there are,
que para ver
through
al
the
pueblo
federal
cuáles son
government or
las
state government, or
oportunidades
by
o
our own initiatives,
del gobierno
to address
federal
our
o
carbon
del
footprint,
gobierno
to be in
estatal
step
o
with the
del
state
gobierno
and the federal
local,
government.
que cómo podemos
And
estar
my
caminando junto
wish,
con ellos en
talked to
ese
Lori
camino.
Trahan about this,
Y yo quiero hablar con
Congresswoman
Lori
Lori
Trahan acerca de eso.
That I think all towns in
Yo creo que
Massachusetts
todos los
and across
pueblos
the
en
country
Massachusetts y
should have a
a lo
like
largo del
committee
país
so that
deben
we have
tener
a
un
standard
comité parecido para
standardization
que
of
tengamos una
that the state
cierta
can rely on at the local level
estandarización
to
de
implement
las
plans
maneras
and
de
then report
implementar los
back on their
planes y de hacer
success.
reportes acerca de su
So thank
éxito.
you.
Así que gracias.
Thank you, Tony.
Gracias,
I'm
Tony.
going to go to Eugenia.
Voy a
I
pasar
have
a
just given
Eugenia.
you permissions.
All right, you can hear me?
¿Me escuchan?
Thank you so much. You know, I want to thank EEA for
Quiero
hosting this
agradecer al
webinar and
Departamento
also
de
last
Energía
week's webinar.
y Asuntos Ambientales
Both
de
did
este
include
webinario
language
y también de
translation,
la semana
and
pasada de los dos
I
que
think
tenía
certainly as Maria Belen Power's remarks
interpretación.
earlier underscored, the importance of two-way communication
nos dijeron antes que es importante tener
comunicación
de dos vías como para tener involucramiento, que no se puede exagerar la importancia. Quizás no hemos llegado completamente por ese camino, pero es un buen paso. Así que gracias.
I will be joining my colleagues
y quiero juntarme a mis
from the
colegas
Climate Justice Working Group and
del
also
grupo
from the
de
environmental community submitting
climático
detailed
en
comments
someter
next week.
comentarios
But
detallados
I
la semana
wanted
que
to
viene.
offer a couple of
Pero
additional
yo quiero
thoughts for
ofrecer
now.
algunos pensamientos
One is that
adicionales
it
ahora.
is really imperative that we factor fully
Entonces es
all of
importante
the
tomar
health
en
benefits
cuenta
associated with the
completamente
clean
todos los
energy
beneficios de
transition,
salud
and that we
con
consider
esa
these when we are
transición,
doing
y hay que
comprehensive
tomarlo en
climate
cuenta cuando
planning in
estamos haciendo el
Massachusetts.
planeamiento
I greatly
comprensivo para
appreciate the economic and health impacts
climático aquí en
report that
Massachusetts.
accompanied the draft
Yo aprecio
CECP,
el
but
reporte
I would argue
de
that it contains
beneficios
conservative
de
estimates
salud,
of
pero
the
yo creo
various
que tiene
benefits associated with
estimados
transitioning to
conservadores
a
con
decarbonized future.
transición
And
a
I
un
would
futuro
really urge
descarbonizado.
EEA
Y entonces
and all
quiero
of us to delve more
invitarle a
deeply into
DEA a
what those
todos
full benefits could be,
para
rather
hablar
than
más
focusing almost
detalladamente
exclusively and
son
almost
los
to our detriment
beneficios de la
on GHG emission
descarbonización,
reductions. We have a
la
portfolio
reducción de
of policies
emisiones.
that need to be
Tenemos una
addressed
póliza
and
de
complied with, and so I
portafolio
really
que hay que
encourage us to
hablar,
take a
hay que
holistic approach
discutir
to do
para
that.
tomar como una
And then as the COVID
una
crisis
visión
has
más amplia,
demonstrated,
global de
and I
la
think we all know
situación.
this, I certainly hope we know
Yo creo que
this.
nosotros sabemos
It
que
is unfortunately, it is low-income communities and communities of color that are
de bajos ingresos y
continually
de color
and disproportionately burdened by health inequality, economic insecurity, food insecurity, housing insecurity, energy insecurity, all of these things.
Dinero,
and these are the communities that are on the front line of the climate crisis.
De esta crisis
I implore
climática.
EEA, the
Así
Baker
que
administration, and
invito
all of
a la
us to
administración,
learn from the very hard lessons of the last year and recognize fully the inextricable link between climate, health, and equity. And then we need to plan and implement accordingly. It is not enough for us to say the right things. It is really time for us to do the right things. So toward that end, I would like to ask EEA to please include in the text of the final document the recommendations that were voted on by the IAC, which includes guiding principles that are referenced on a page of the document. I can't recall exactly what page at this moment, as well as climate justice considerations. Please include those in the final report document, as opposed to just linking to them as a footnote in the document. I think they're a very important point to start the conversation.
Yo creo que es un buen comienzo para la conversación. Que gracias por el trabajo que están haciendo. Está súper apreciado. Que gracias por el tiempo.
Thank you. I'm going to go next to Rosemary. I have just given you permission to talk. So you should be able to unmute yourself, Rosemary.
Thank you so much. My name is Rosemary Wessel. I'm with Berkshire Environmental Action Team. And the CECP is a program that outlines how to reduce fossil fuel use from our current emission levels. Not enough, in our opinion. We do support the comments of others who say we need to be more aggressive. But it doesn't address not adding the new fossil fuels that are slated to be added in the immediate future. There are currently proposed projects before the BPU and other regulatory permitting agencies, including a new peaker power plant in PVD that will run on oil, an LNG facility in Charlton, pipeline expansions by Eversource, and of course the biomass power plant near Springfield that are under consideration right now. There needs to be an immediate halt of these projects or an accounting of these projects in the plan.
Y hablar de esos proyectos en el plan.
We need to commit us even more to reducing emissions that are currently on
a las soluciones que actualmente se están poniendo en línea, se están activando. Yo espero que se está tomando en cuenta eso. Y de veras necesitamos las provisiones para parar de añadir más emisiones a base de combustibles de fósiles mientras que esperamos la aprobación. Gracias.
Thank you. And I'm going to go next to Mike Duclos. I've just
Ahora Mike Duclos.
And I'll also just note that we are nearing time. We only have a couple of hands left, so we're going to try to stick with it and hear everybody out, but please do remember to keep your comments brief. And Mike, you're still muted on your end. Oh, there you go.
Okay, can you hear me, Claire?
Yep.
Great, thanks very much. Thank you for the opportunity to comment on the tremendous amount of work that has gone into the 2030 CECP. This is an impressive effort which has surfaced some challenges when implementation details are considered for some key components. The challenge of thermal enclosure improvements and heating electrification, which I'll call retrofits, of 1 million homes by 2030 is about 400 homes each weekday for the next 10 years. Compelling public education programs should be initiated soon, since it will take some time
tiene que implementar pronto, porque eso va a tomar tiempo para que el mensaje sea escuchado, entendido y aceptado, para que se pueda realizar a nivel que sea adecuado. Necesitamos entrenamiento, que es el equipo para esas bombas de calor. Se necesita, como están haciendo en Vermont. Hay muchos diseños y sistemas de distribución de calefacción. Eso incluye a los implementadores, que los que instalan tales sistemas. Entonces, para los incentivos para convencer a muchos dueños de casa y también los que rentan en apartamentos grandes, se tienen que de diseñarlos y buscar la finanza y implementarlo. Y tiene que hacer de tal manera para que el impacto de los para el combustible, o sea, para la energía, entonces que vean el valor para poder hacer para comprar esa modernización. Los componentes para que se compren de una manera adecuada, cómoda para la gente, asequible. Entonces necesitamos un modelo que podemos empezar para 2023 y trabajar hacia atrás para decir que todos los elementos que he nombrado, que sean todo en su lugar, para que puedan mover adelante. Y necesita una cronología con todos sus fechas límites de cada componente que aparezca en el reporte para que se pueda monitorear, para que vean que estamos llegando a esas metas, se está realizando y se puede corregir en el momento para llegar a esa meta de 2030. Gracias por todo el esfuerzo que se han hecho para este documento y para la oportunidad para dar comentarios.
I'm going to go to Edward Wool. Edward, you should have permission. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. Thank you for putting on this very helpful program.
Este programa informativo. Así mi comentario se enfoca y mi preocupación que hay como 500,000 edificios de los 3 millones que hay en el estado que tienen alambre viejo y no tienen insulación, y cuando se hablaba de esa bomba de calefacción, eso va a ser en las comunidades de justicia ambiental o de bajos ingresos. Y así el asunto será que una casa que no tiene insulación y que va a usar 3 veces la energía que una casa que no tiene la insulación. Esos son los cambios más fáciles y eso hay que darle más finanza para eso. Entonces, yo creo que se debe de proponer la conversión de esas casas a esas bombas de calor como parte del programa Más Safe para pensar las otras maneras que se va a buscar las finanzas. Y yo creo que eso es más fácil, porque si no se da finanza a eso, entonces van a estar pagando los precios de lo que es el sistema de gas que todavía existen en esos edificios, en estas comunidades pobres.
I'm going now to Bill Green, just giving you permissions, and then we have John and Michael remaining on the list as we go into overtime. But go ahead, Bill. Oh, it looks like it's clear. Bill, are you able to speak? Okay, we will come back to you. I'm going to go to John now. Go ahead, John.
Hi, thank you.
My name is John Bonapane.
Soy John Bonapane.
United Steelworkers Union
Que
representative.
yo soy representante del sindicato de los trabajadores de acero. Como hay 2,000 personas que están trabajando con las utilidades de gas en Massachusetts. Y quiero hablar de desarrollo de los trabajadores.
Really taking a look at the plan, I kind of wanted to
después de
speak
ver
about the plan
el
itself.
plan, quiero hablar del plan mismo.
So, a couple of the previous commenters talked about thermal districts and biofuels and
habla de biocombustibles.
How they weren't really addressed in the plan.
Y de veras no se hablaron en el plan.
I don't think a lot of types of energy
Yo creo que mucho
where the
tipo de
existing
energía
pipeline could be utilized. Things like hydrogen and RNG. They weren't addressed.